is Jack Bloor, and this is my very first attempt at ASMR. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy. Now this won't be your regular ASMR video where I do different triggers and have different objects. As you can see, I have a single microphone set up, so I'll probably have it float around your ears, which it might be doing right now, left to right, just to expand the depth of it a little bit. But besides that, it's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to use this opportunity to introduce myself, tell you a little about myself, so in the future, when you are watching my videos, you can be a little bit more comfortable, feel like you know me a little bit better, like I'm not mysterious. So, I'll get started. I am 19 years old. I live in Richmond, Virginia, in the city, actually. You may be able to hear some cars drive by the street that's down outside of my window, though I do live on the 5th floor, so it probably will be quite distant and quiet. I am an artist and a musician, though very amateur at both. I can safely say I have not found my passion yet in life. It's hard to come to that conclusion. I found growing up, I was so sure that I was going to be an artist, that was going to be how I lived. But 1 year in art school, in college, taught me to question that and try to expand myself a little bit and test the waters of different things I may never have even thought were there. So I'm currently doing that right now. Maybe this will become something. Who knows? I have, or will have, 2 roommates. Currently, I am the only dweller that resides in my house/apartment. They are incredible people. You may meet them, maybe, if I make some future videos with some guests. Their names are Spencer and Thomas, and they are also both artists, very positive people. I love them both to death, and they're amazing. 2 of my closest friends. Can't wait till they move in quite soon. I've only just now recently moved in. I've only been in this house for about a week now, actually. Yes, 1 week since Friday, which is very exciting. Let's see, what's next? Okay, so I grew up in the outskirts of the city, off in suburbia, which some of you may be familiar with, maybe currently living there now. I don't have any resentment towards suburbia, but I wouldn't call it the ideal place to live as a child. It's very bland and repetitive, not much to explore, not much to surprise you. But I survived and still managed to have a very enjoyable time. I had many friends, good family. When I was young, my mother and father divorced. I was 8 years old. So that definitely helped to mold me into who I am today, and surely formed a lot of the ideas and opinions that I have on relationships, but nothing scarring. The relationship was still very positive. Me and my brother were nurtured and provided for. Though I didn't move quite often, leading up until late elementary school, where we finally settled down in the midst of, suburbia. They lived close by, only a 15-minute drive in between, so It wasn't like my father lived in Maine and my mother lived in Florida, and I never saw one of them for 9 months. So it was good. It was about as good as it could have been, honestly. Can't complain. This is not me complaining. This is me just explaining. Middle school was good. I made some of the closest friends I've ever had. I still have 3 friends. Their names are Matthew, John, and Brandon, who are probably my closest friends, who I see constantly, though it is unfortunate that they do attend school in different states, so I don't really get to see them that often during the school year. But that's alright, I'll survive, and we still keep in touch, so that's good. Don't really remember much of my elementary school days. I mean, I do remember quite a lot, but I don't really have any sustained relationships from then. Most of those friendships have withered up until now, but that's fine. People grow and change in different directions. And I have no regrets from that. Can't really as a child. I'm sort of naive. Don't really have the ability to retain resentment towards those people at that point. Anyway, high school. Now that was a treat. I can safely say I would never wish it on anyone to live through my high school experience. Now, from the outside, it may not seem like I had that terrible of a time, but for me, it was a struggle. A lot of the time, I was very sad, but I made it through with many lifelong relationships that I hold very close to my heart, including my girlfriend, who I love very dearly. Her name is Jenny. I had a very bizarre high school experience. I went to 2 separate high schools at the same time, which might not be that bizarre for some of you. Currently, I believe that it's becoming more and more common, actually, as different specialty centers and sort of specialty places are popping up here and there for different talents and abilities that are not necessarily promoted in the regular public school. So I went to the Center for the Arts at Henrico High School, which was actually located right inside of Richmond City. So I got a little taste of city life throughout high school, which is what inspired me to then live here. That was very interesting. I was kind of cut in half a lot of the time. My friendships didn't really have the chance to grow fully, since I was constantly going back and forth between 2 completely different friend groups that didn't really mesh whatsoever. They were completely different personalities, completely different people. So that was tough. Now, what was most challenging was my internal struggles that I went through as a young adult, having to do with all sorts of different psychological issues that I don't need to go into detail on, but just safe to say that they've definitely molded me into a lot more open-minded and understanding person. Consider myself to be about as open-minded as physically possible. So I'm currently trying to expand myself in every direction at all times, trying to consume as much knowledge and understanding that I possibly can without overstretching my boundaries, which I really don't have any boundaries, actually, now that I think about it. I kind of just kind of go wherever I please and learn whatever I want to learn. I mean, I say this with a complete understanding that the fact that I honestly don't really understand that much. There's so much information that I just don't know anything about. And with that understanding, I'm able to fill in the gaps a little bit of it at a time. Wouldn't consider myself very like genius or anything. No, not even close to that. I'm far from a genius. I have terrible attention issues. Terrible, terrible focus. The fact that I've been able to talk to you this long now is honestly a miracle. But yeah, I enjoy a lot. Joy is my passion. If I were to say that I have a passion, it would be enjoyment. Just finding everything positive about whatever exists and filling myself with that. I feel like that's the best way to live, honestly. It's kind of funny. I recently had this thought about what if a kid, a boy, child was born into this world in perfect circumstances where he never learned negativity, he never learned hate or sadness. He only knew neutrality and positivity. That's it. That's all he had. It was a sense of peace and a sense of joy. And with that, he filled himself with only positive energies. And only once he had fully built himself on these ideals, only once they had fully ingrained themselves into his personality did he learn about sadness and anger and hate, just negativity in general. Only then did he learn and come to understand it. And with his understanding of this idea, did he compare it to his own self, but not absorb it into himself, just see the way he lived, purely positive, and compare it and contrast it to the exact opposite, but not consume it, not make it part of himself. He would have the purest existence. And I thought, well, why can't I just go back and decide that that's who I am? Decide that I am purely positive and purely directional on an upward path. But I can't. There are too many things that have sewn themselves to my person, too many different ideas and feelings and emotions that I've sort of grabbed and latched on to at least parts of me. It's kind of funny. I don't necessarily feel negative feelings. I do. I feel them. They happen to me, but that doesn't mean that I allow them to guide my decisions. It's as if I'm two people, one that feels everything and one that acts and is able to take what I feel, understand what happens, and does with that information what should be done. Now, that kind of makes me sound a little perfect, like I'm able to sort of break down everything that I experience and have the best course of action. That's far from what happens. I make plenty of mistakes. I make plenty of poor decisions. Now, at this point, I'm not necessarily making that many mistakes. I've definitely grown, and I'm currently growing even more and more every second that passes in the right direction, and I feel like that's what's happening for me. And can happen for everyone, that you can choose what you actually feel rather than allowing what you do feel to choose for you. That's kind of like my life philosophy, if you would say. Do what you should do, not what you are doing. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. It makes sense to me, which is honestly all that really matters from my selfish perspective. Don't really need... It's one of those realizations that you sort of have to come to on your own, and you can't really share with people. they kind of define the way to look at their experiences in their own unique way that works with their personality. You can't really adopt someone else's way of life. You can take what they know and allow it to manifest into your own ideas. It doesn't make it possible for you to just so completely and unadulteratedly adopt them fully. How did I even get on this topic? Anyway, I'm Jack Bloor. I will be having more of these talks in the future. I plan on getting very deep into some philosophy in a lot of my videos, because that is one of my favorite things, just to sort of mull about and the ideas of the universe, as you will. A shout out to Ephemeral Rift. You, my sir, are very, very talented in your skills of relaxation, and you're creative too. That's hard to do. It's hard to be creative and the epitome of relaxation at the same time. So if you ever somehow come across this video or any of my future videos, I would love to collaborate with you. That would be absolutely incredible. I have some pretty good ideas. And your whole post-apocalyptic theme, it's interesting. It is. Though it's sort of contradicting, you'd think, right? Post-apocalyptic, dystopian themes sort of finding their way into ASMR. You wouldn't think that would be relaxing, but I guess the idea of an empty world is sort of relaxing in its own way. A clean slate, as you will. Alright, I'm going to shut up now, because I've been talking about nonsense for, I want to say, about 15 minutes. I'm not really sure how long this has been going on. Also, heads up, in the future I will have a far better recording setup. I had this other microphone that I was going to use as my left ear, but it didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work. It's very sad that it didn't work, because I was very excited to have it work, but it didn't. So I'm over it, obviously. I'm not upset, I promise, at all. There's no upsetness. It's just peace and tranquility. That's all that's allowed in the zone of absolute calm, right? Nothing else. You're not allowed to be upset. I'm not allowing you to be. If you're upset, well, I actually can't really do anything about it, since you're not even here. I'm literally, there's an empty room right in front of me. It's completely empty. I'll show you. It's absolutely empty. There's no one here, not even a thing. All right, let's see if I can turn this. Okay, so, there's a lamp. Boom. Emptiness. I'll have to give you a tour at some point of my apartment, because it is so awesome. Okay, my friends, I'm going to leave now. Like I said I was going to.